Interamericana, hice pintura en la Academia de San Carlos. En los últimos 4 años he colaborado con la Secretaría de Relaciones Exteriores y he hecho exposiciones por muchos lugares del mundo, sobre todo con las embajadas y consulados. So for those who don't know, I'm Miguel Ángel Cordera. I'm a visual artist, studied at Rhode Island School of Design. I have a master's in painting for Rhode Island School of Design. And here is Katia Gardea Brown, who's an artist, and she was a contact with Axel Obiger. So we give you the warmest bienvenida. This project we've been working this project for more than a year and a half. We got support from a foundation. Well, it's not a foundation, it's a German government that's called IFA, which is really important to get. And this project is going to be 3 weeks, and the project was done here in Mexico City, plus the work that came from Berlin directly. And it's an exchange in between Axel Obriger and El Palmar, which is a project here. So this conversation is going to be open. You can ask questions, and maybe some of the other people from Axel Obiger will be interested in participating in the show. I know on Fridays it's kind of hard to get here because of the noise and it's very busy, but we're going to do our best for you to understand what we're doing here and what the relation is for Mexico with Germany. And we have people from the Goethe Institute as well. So we invite you to support the project, and all these paintings that rather stay in Mexico somehow. I don't know if it's going to happen, but yeah, this project has to be, the second part is going to be exhibited in Axel Obriger in Berlin. So if you have any questions, feel free to open. And it's a very open talk. Laura is going to ask a few questions, and if you have any other questions, the rest of the artists, we thank Pablo Stanley, who has this project is very important. It's called Humankind. He's a graphic designer, and he's supporting the project. Laura's assistant, and all the crew from Axel Obiger who have been great, and we've been enjoying a lot. And maybe you can talk a little bit about the works, and especially how two spaces that are independent one spaces can work together, and to bring the artistic community close to Mexico City and what's happening in Mexico right now. Okay?
Gracias por tan increíble bienvenida. ¿Está bien si lo hacemos todo en inglés para no...? Okay, entonces, thank you for this warming welcome. I am Laura Resendiz, for those that don't know me. I am an art historian, and for the last years, I left the commercial gallery life to work with independent spaces like the ones we are talking about. And because of that, I started Kipo Fair, which is the only fair in Mexico City oriented to artist-run spaces and making exchanges on these incredible areas of these two cities that are very alike in the way of the artistic industry, with galleries, with international scenes, and having these artists and spaces together, I think it's a very important step for new organizations and new independent ways of creating and having other processes in the art other than commercial galleries in the market. So I am also coordinating a festival called BLAM, because of the initials as in Berlin, LA, and Mexico. And it's very inspiring to have, for the first time, all these artists that are going to be part also of the first edition of BLAM next summer in Berlin. So having these familiarities with both spaces and with the artists, I would like to begin the conversation, if it's okay with you, to asking you, what is the gallery about, if it could be named a gallery? What are the origins, and then how this all became a relationship with El Palmar?
All right. Hello, my name is Matthias Moravec. I'm representing Axel Obiger here. Maybe we can include you later on, that's fine. And actually, first of all, it's important for us to point out that Axel Obiger actually is not a gallery. It's an artist-run space, it's a project space, which means that we're 12 artists, Berlin-based artists, running this space together on an equal level, so everyone has the same right, the same votes, the same duties, and the same passion, the same time, the same love and heart that we put into the space. And it was founded back then in 2009, so it's 15 years old now. which means that it's one of the oldest art restaurant spaces in Berlin, I think. And it established its base in Berlin Mitte, in Brunnenstraße, which was back then a very lively place for galleries and other art spaces. It changed a bit then, and now I think the art audience or other galleries are coming back, so we are the survivors in Brunnenstraße. And actually, yeah, we have approximately, I think, 10 shows a year, something. And the basic idea is dialogue shows, which means that we, the Axel Obiger artists, invite another artistic position to get into dialogue with and to maybe counterpart, to interfere sometimes, to interact, to compare, to share the space, which means that we understand ourselves as being open for guests. So we open our space for guests. That's very important for us, this kind of artistic situation to welcome others. Then we have group shows, curated group shows, different subjects. And then, of course, we have these exchange ideas with project spaces, artisan spaces in other cities. We had exchange with Paper Gallery in Manchester, for example. We had exchange with 2 different spaces in Los Angeles so far, and now we're very happy to be here in Mexico City to have this exchange with El Palmar. And how this came into life, the whole project, the whole thing is actually based on friendship between Katja Brown and Natalie Grenzhäuser, who is one of our artists. They know each other a long time, have been showing together, working together. And they were talking about maybe this idea of doing something together or having exchange between these 2 cities. And then it was Katja Brown's idea to bring Miguel Angel Codera into the game. And he said, yes, maybe he can correct me, it's a good idea, let's try this, let's get into contact with Berlin again, see what's happening if we bring this project space here. The space we're in there are 2 galleries, maybe you know it. There's this gallery above us, a more, let's say, classical gallery. And this space here, it's a bit like the Axel Obiger space. It has this front door situation where you can get in contact with the street and the city and so on. And it's a bit separated. So this was for us the good chance to separate the works, to find connections. And yeah, we're very happy to be here. Thanks to Katja Brown and Miguel Angel Codera.
Thank you.
What I could tell you about the space is I've been running the space since 1998, so it's more than 25 years. And I started with a gallery from Paris. I was in Bonamor Palix. It was here for more than 10 years. It was a commercial gallery and we did art fairs as Bonamor Palix. The story of the house is my grandfather's house. It was to be a rubber company, and they had rubber and coffee, which was very, very good. And my grandfather used to work with the National Institute of Coffee, and he made all the mattresses for the Olympic Games in 1968. So this house used to belong to my family. So I decided when I was studying at the National University in San Carlos to start my studio here. And sometimes when you're an artist, you think that the more space that you have, the bigger works that you can do. But actually, I always felt that community was the strongest part of the project. And for some years, I could subside some of the work of the artists. I do a lot of things. I used to do graphic design, painting, newspapers, character artists with Disney, Hanna-Barbera, and Warner Brothers. And the space has been my studio since 1998. Then Agustina Ferreira started here. Then Patricia Martin, who was one of the greatest roommates, had a project here. So even in this space, the Venice Biennial happened here with Luis Felipe Ortega. Right now we have 6 residents. Cara Rooney, who's from New York, teacher from School of Visual Arts. Adela Morvans is a teacher at Rhode Island. We do the programs of SBA and Rhode Island School of Design here in Mexico. And we also rent a guy from the Escola Agustin Gonzalez and his wife, Camila Cárdenas. And there are 2 residents from Venezuela. So we keep changing the residents mostly every 6 months or every year. And we have 1 space that is available still. And this space, the idea is that it's for exchange in between different groups of artists from Mexico and abroad. We work a lot with foundations, and in my specific work, I've been working for foundations that's called Mexico Vivo, that supports people with AIDS. I work for people with mental health issues. After the pandemic, everyone was just like or disappointed or stressed, had anxiety disorders. So we do a lot of things for bipolar disorder, which is just past the day of bipolar. And many artists are bipolar, which is very common in the art world. And I think that the hardest thing to run a space is communication. And the team usually is 2 or 3 people, it's not big. And we work with donations. I was supporting a space with the sale of my work, but things are changing, and I think that we got support from some government to get more and more information about how to run an artist run space. And artist run spaces are very important when the career starts as an artist. So we bring a lot of people in who are involved in the creation of art. And we also bring curators and art directors and obviously gallerists. And the idea is to invite other people like the Axel Obigers to be part of the Palmar, and then do a collaboration in the near future with different artists from other spaces.
So you both talked about the difference of having a gallery and an artist-run space and the challenges that are not only financial but also social, by having community bringing together and the gathering of the artists. So the question for you both and the artists that are part of the artist-run spaces will be, what does it mean to have international exchanges to the space itself, and then what does it mean for your creative processes to be able to have these exchanges within other cities?
Actually, I think that the exchanges that we did in the last years had a very big impact on the way we work, or on the way we schedule our exhibitions and stuff. They were very important for us because they gave us the possibility to have a perception from the outside on our own artistic practice, and as an artist-run space to learn how other artist-run spaces are organized in different parts of the world, how they make their living, how they pay the rent, how they, I don't know, advertise shows, how they organize events, how they arrange exhibitions, how they deal with the situation that they face the street and how they involve the cities, for example. So it's a very fruitful aspect, I think, for us as a artist-run space. And
have you find any similarities on how do you manage the struggles on paying rents? And
the thing is that actually, if you look on the artist-run spaces scene in Berlin, to say that every artist-run space is different from the others. So they're like totally different ways managing all these questions. So we're used to see different approaches to these questions. It's not only a thing of perspectives. We have these different aspects in Berlin as well. So there are artist-run spaces that are run by maybe one person. Then there are artist-run spaces that are like we do it, run by 12 like individual artists that come together. Then there are like artist-run spaces that are maybe done by a couple and maybe more on a temporary base. So everything is possible and every space is different. And I think this is the same when you go to another country. You experience different ways of managing all these questions and discussing art and yeah.
I think that something that's very important is that Natalie was the only artist who was in Mexico maybe 30 years ago, or I don't know how many, 10 years. But the rest of the Axel Obrigers don't speak Spanish, and they started to discover the city through the exhibition. So one of the things that we did together with the piece that we have here, maybe you can start talking about how developed the pieces that were at the show, was actually when Saeed told me, no, I brought him an American flag and I want to take it around the area and wrap it around the people who are on the streets, even the taco people. So all the neighbors were just like, they didn't know what was going on, and there was a filmation that was going on. So when they were filming, they said, no, maybe it's part of a series of a Netflix, or people were starting to be really funny, because even the guys from Tacos, they said, oh, when you have to say something about America, they said like, well, they won at the football, so it really sucks. They're really good at soccer, no? So the opinions of the neighbors are the kind of things that we really approach, and even the neighbors from the La Paleria or the Tacos, so they started to build a very interesting community, because when they see, and they know me for 25 years, and when they see me with new people that are kind of different in some ways, physically from Mexicans, they're really interested in what's going on. They say, like, how come people from Berlin are in San Rafael? And I think that, speaking about the area, there are a few galleries that are around here. We started at the same time as Galeria, showing Damon Hirst. And we are promoted by several media, like Artist Container, like On the MX, and supporters. And finally, at some point, we're going to start talking about what was the experience of the Axel Obigers in Mexico,
right,
and what would be the experience for the Mexicans in Berlin.
Yeah, somehow like that, because this doesn't happen in regular galleries, that the artists go outside and they integrate with your 25 years of knowing the neighbors. So by making these exchanges, of course, there's something that happens with your piece that you integrate it with everyone. So that makes a different routing with the artist-run spaces in the areas other than the gallery. So. Yeah, what will your experience be by working in a foreign country that you don't know the language and that you are somehow creating with the people around you, right? Sorry, that was just like a boom for you.
Now's your turn. So now it's Axel Obiger.
Yeah, we're taking over. I told you we're the survivors.
Yeah, my name is Said Fouroui. I'm an artist actually from Iran, but I live in Germany since 18 years. And yeah, the first sentence I have to go to tell you, I think art have to make a break and to give the people to see the world in another way, in another manner. And for me as an artist was the break to make a break for another people, because they have a routine to make everyday life and to make a sandwich or something like that. And I was very happy to surprise them with something that they don't expect it in the daily life. It was the first idea, but I'm very glad because of supporting you and your assistants, because without this, it wouldn't be happen to take this break or to bring this break to these people. And there was too many funny things to understand about the country, the Mexico City, and the people from Mexico. For example, the first thing was, how can I give the American people a name? You're American, I'm American too. Okay, maybe Ringo. No, it's not a correct name. Maybe another. And that was very similar. A very simple detail was very important to make this thing. And for another funny thing, I have an example. And I am in this picture. I'm naked and hold the flag. And every people take, oh no, I don't want to take off my t-shirt to make a picture. I said, okay, no, it's not the idea. And yeah, it was a very nice conversation with normal people at the street. As an artist, to go to the street, to go have a conversation and make your art. And I'm very happy about the result. And thanks
to Ricardo, my assistant. We're a team of 3 people. That's it. So it's a great effort to do things with a small staff. But we can arrange, because Axel Obriger was a very good collaboration, and we worked as a team, and that's what I always tell my friends and my people who work with me, that we should always work as a team. And since the project that we're doing in Berlin is not a real collective, it's just friends like Arturo Ortiz, who's writing the text for Berlin, and it's people who are friends who are helping. So if we work as a collective, we have obligations. But then again, if you work independent and you make the decisions, maybe there's one director who's leading the whole thing. And that's what it's very important for us to find the leaders. And actually, Obriger, the 12 artists are all leaders. So it's sometimes it's really interesting to try to make decisions with 12 people instead of 1. Yeah. So right now, Mexico representing in Palmar is just me. But yeah, we are a team as well, so that's it. So would you like to talk about your piece? Or your experience in Mexico?
Yeah, we can change.
Yeah, because there's the open. It's a good idea because there's the open microphone where you can just sit and you're like, this is the thing.
Okay, my name is Enrico Nima, and the piece is this colorful acrylic paper thing on the wall. This piece I brought to Mexico, and when I made it, I had somehow these Mexican colors in my mind, and so when I'm here, I had to
Say it in German.
yeah.
German.
Ja, okay. Muss gab ganz viele Impressionen. There are so much impressions for me to bring it in this piece. So I don't know. So this is the artwork to the experience here for me. So the experience comes after it, and so.
Does it match the experience you had in your mind with the experience you are actually having?
Sometimes, yeah, of course. All these houses and all these things are really colorful here, and maybe also the experience with this old culture thing, that seeing always these forms I did, therefore in these archaeological pieces in the museum, so that's it.
But it also happened in the dialogue with the audience, right, or the people who came to the exhibition, that they told you that these colors remind them of colors that they know from their city, right?
Yeah.
The houses and everything, so the things, the impressions that you brought or that you wanted to show here, it worked.
I'm interested to see what's going to happen when you go back to
Yes.
the studio in Berlin, when it's raining and it's a little bit dark and it's a little, and you're going to be thinking about the sun in Mexico and all these colors are going to really come to a situation or into a new dialogue in your studio as a painter. One of the things that I love about Enrico's work, that I saw his work at the Axel space in November last year, that again they invite one of the Axels and they bring a musician from the outside, from another artist, to have a dialogue also with the particular artist, is that he does these sculptures, three-dimensional pieces, and then also they come sometimes out of the wall and on the floor or on the ceiling corner and such. And they're all actually in painting. They're all color, paper, the very delicate vellum, and then with watercolor washes and everything. And so they do become these kind of like even digital animals or growths or parasites that suddenly start hanging in the gallery. Or this is in my mind when we were talking about in Berlin before you came, and I was very interested to have Enrico come to Mexico City, and initially he was not sure if he would be able to separate himself from situations and work and such. But the fact that he came here, I'm very curious to see what's going to develop in his studio back in Berlin after the experience. So I wanted to inject this information about the fact that Palmar has always been a painter's gallery, if you wish to call it that. It obviously houses photography, sculpture, a little bit of everything. There's been video installations that I've also seen upstairs about 10 years ago, and in different moments and in different versions. But there's always been a concern about painting. And so the fact that we have another painter here in this context is very cool for some young painters in Mexico, and to see this variation of multimedia artworks. So,
Yeah, I think one thing that's important. Yeah, sorry. One thing that's important. There was a project here that was called Diagrama, which was very famous in the 2000s. And for 5 years, we only showed painting. So painting in the 90s was not hip because conceptual art was actually very strong with Galeria, and like all the galleries. So painting was kind of hidden for a little while, and the resistance was done here in this house. So we always think about, we were talking upstairs, we were talking about politics and how we have this approach in between the Germans and the Mexicans, and how painting has always been a job that you have to do on a daily basis. How to be a painter, show up and paint. That's what Picasso said, or Dali. And there are German artists like Richter or Sigmund Polke or even the Kiepenberger or like all the German artists who really started the scene of the important in the 80s and 90s in Berlin and different places like Frankfurt or Hamburg or different, but Germany has always been a painter's place. So I think that for us in contemporary art to talk about painting is really very, very important. So as a painter, and I as a painter and you because a painter, your experience of Mexican painting, what do you think about that?
My experience of Mexican painting. First, I want to add that painting and conceptual art are always connected. It's not a difference. Because
painting is
how do you paint something? It's also a concept.
Yeah, I know.
So
it's not divided. So.
yeah, and
but for example, the muralists, what do you think about like these huge painters in Mexico?
of course, it's very very important for me because you have every time this material and the water, and I'm looking for the abstract formal things of murals more than the figurative thing, and so the murals are somehow really important because of the huge tradition and also that they are in the public space. So
Yeah, and there are also painters, and there's also something that's important that we do as well. That's etching. There's a great tradition from José Guadalupe Posada to Francisco Toledo, and the Oaxacan artist, actually Tamayo, was one of the Toledo were very close friends. And when Toledo goes to Paris, he was taught by Tamayo to go to those special places to print. And I think that one of the main things about the characteristics that have been in Mexico is not only painting but etching and drawing, and imported drawing. So sometimes a lot of painters say, no, it's only very simple. You can draw a naked body, or you can draw a chapel or architecture, you know, or so it's a combination of many things that come together in between Mexico and Berlin, and there's a comparison with great engravers from both countries.
yeah, the architectural thing is also important for my work, but it's in the inner space, not the outer space. So therefore, this is another aspect of this mural things. So
Okay. Thanks.
I would like to also know about your work. What has been the reception of people?
First, I have to introduce myself. I'm Susanne Pilz, and I'm working with this collective since for 2 years now. And I would describe myself as an installative. Well, it's drawing based because I started with drawing, and it was not enough. And I find objects, and I make large-size installation in Germany. They are mostly in situ, they are room-based, and they have a connection also with special place. And yeah, in this exhibition, I had really good discussion about the work. For me, it was amazing that I get into my work because I think it's somehow it's narrative, but it's also abstract. But working with things, and I found them here in the streets, and they were given to me. They are connected directly with these pieces. But for me, the singular piece is not important. It's the combination of them. And in Germany, where I'm mostly doing this bigger installation, I like to find a fragile, instable moment of these things, and therefore I have to fix them with photography because mostly they don't exist for a long time. That means my work has to do with processes, and it's really temporary. It's really a work of integration, and I really like to go through the towns, through the streets, because I find everywhere installation.
Yeah, exactly. The parking spaces are all installations.
Installation of Mexico City. It is really strong impression. I made a lot of photographs. For example, the black basket. There I find them on bicycle. Yeah, and many functions. And also I'm interested to work with my objects, and every time I choose them, they have a new function. Yeah.
How do you choose the objects? I really like that you have the Dia de los Muertos sugar skull over there. That is very Mexican. How do you look for the objects so they find you, and then do you turn around this very Mexican installation? Is it inspired?
I also objectified myself. Sometimes they are given to me, and sometimes I'm asking, why are they there? It's a philosophical question, and then I have to find out what to do with it. But for sure, I'm doing drawing for a long time. Therefore, I choose things look like lines and different style of lines, like pointed lines and colorful lines. And I also like the materiality of the lines. Therefore, I'm collecting things that have really interesting lines. But there are also things of different part of everyday life, because there are household equipment. There are things from my other children or play somehow, or there are tools of my atelier, and that means I work with everything what is surrounding us. And I think in our everyday life it's really fragmentary. Yeah, we have different parts, and maybe also different parts like the science and to sports. And my question is how these things are working together, how they are related. And it's also about our society that for me it's so every time fragmentary to think about the fragments, how it could work together, but mostly, I have to say, I think it's absurd theater. And then it becomes some surreal movement I also have to show.
Thank you. I really like your artwork. It's really, I really enjoy it. It really invites you to surround it, and then when you see it on three-dimensional, it's so different and the same. It has the wow thing. Right?
There are several states of my works. There is, if I'm doing installation and it's three-dimensional, then mostly I put it in front of a white wall. Then I make the photograph, and then it becomes flat. Mm-hmm. There's modification of my work. Like water is somehow solid if it's ice, or it's fluid, or it can be also gas. And also I have to make sculpture and graphic work. They're all different parts of my work. And for me, I like it that all these parts are related. And in this room, I also work with a room. And that's a small stage where you can move and you find different perspectives on it.
It was really funny to travel with Susanne in the last days in Mexico City, because you could really see the flames of inspiration above her head when she was drawn into some shops, seeing objects there, installation there. It was really cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yes. No, because it's an exhibition out of our suitcase. I have to think about to transport my work in a live format. Because some objects I'm normally working are too big to be transported in a suitcase. Therefore, the inner circle of my work starts at the wall. These things I brought from Berlin, and it were these two prints of installation. It was the last installation before I left Berlin. It's on the left side, and it's really complex. And there's also an installation drawing photo. It's really hybrid because it's installation and it's photo and it's drawing.
So I'm trying to make connections between Mexico and Berlin. So I think with your materials, some techniques change if you actually base here and do the same thing.
Can I say something? I wanted to say, because I've also been watching her in this process. When we met in Berlin, she asked me if there were any clothes hangers that you have in apartments in Berlin. I said, well, not really. Like, we have the top rooftops in Mexico, and then you have the lines and the nails and these kind of situations. And she was looking for, she has some objects from the Airbnb, some found material that she found on the street, some of the things about Palmar. So I think it's a situation based sculpture, like in situ, where there's an accumulation of also like data that she's bringing from her personal experience of staying with her household, or objects that you find in the kitchen, familiar objects that perhaps you find in different contexts, but they're the same. And then finding the observation of the differences or the quirkiness, like she was mentioning of the basket. That black basket is a found material that she happens to use now, and that she's thinking about it and recontextualizing it somehow in Berlin. So there's this exchange of the situation place, and this basket is like on the back of the bicycles to travel in the city and deliver, bread, or the tamales, or then the basket is also used in the supermarkets, or for, it's like the same object that all of a sudden she finds in different places in Mexico. So it broadens a little bit the use of an object and how it can be reappropriated, reused, and then who knows how it works in the institution.
That was my point in this conversation going on to this point, and it's art. So if it's in Berlin or if it's in Mexico City, it's still art, and still going to be recognized as art, and doesn't exist like German art, doesn't exist like Mexican art. It's an art.
Yeah,
so
it becomes a drawing. It becomes a drawing.
If you bring that art from the German and put it in this space, it's still recognized as art because it is art. That's why I'm going to try to have a conversation.
I want to say something. I think there's something common in your work, not only the things that are Mexican, but also the thing that you told me about the fragility of life in just one day that happens. And this happens in Berlin, it happens in Mexico, it happens everywhere. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
She wants to know more about the fragility of your work on a daily basis, like what would be the philosophical construct.
Okay. Somehow my work I'm constructing, and for example, in Germany, the functionalism is so important. It's number one in everything about constructing building. It's functionalistic. And therefore my work is also a reflection of functionalism, and I'm a little bit kidding about functionalistic, but I think it's not working because the topics are missing. And here in Mexico City, I really like also architecture because it's colorful, and there's not the only idea of functionalistic. And I think also our everyday life, even in Corona time, was not working again. We were sitting at home and nothing was moving, but we had a lot of technique, but the inner things of humanity are. So we cannot go to the old people if they are ill, and that means we have a really technical society. But that's not all, and I think my work is also a reflection of this everyday life.
Question?
Yeah. What's been your favorite dish so far? Mexican dish, Mexican food? Have you tried spicy food?
No.
Continue with the other words. I don't know how long this
It's with fish dish. Ceviche? It's fantastic. Yeah, it's really amazing and fantastic, and yeah.
Thank you. So we're missing some of your colleagues.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe you can tell us about the photographs that we. Oh, I didn't see
Yeah, with
you.
Tino, it's-
Yes, sorry.
No, no.
I think we shouldn't go that much into detail.
Quick description
Just a
of
quick-
what has been your
Yeah.
impression on your artwork and how does it change on the Mexican viewers or in your own view? Like, what is your artwork about in here? Following what he asked before.
I'm Thilo Drosten, and I show these drawings showing me wearing this mask, and they are done by portraitists I paint on different touristic spots worldwide. And I choose this work because I try to, or I hope to do a connection. In my research I found this lucha libre and the popularity of this sport, and I thought it's maybe the connection of building an image as an artist or as in general or as a fighter in lucha libre by hiding the surface and create a greater image of yourself. So, and when we had the opening or in conversation with you, you bring me to maybe also a political aspect, the Zapatista movement. So this was the idea. for bringing this
Do
work.
you have any different perception of your own artwork after going to La Lucha Libre, like 2 days ago, that you realized that the mask over there has another significance in here? Even though the black mask you saw El Místico yesterday or 2 days ago, right?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, like knowing the importance of Lucha Libre and going to Lucha Libre, does it change the way that you interpret? You had the interpretation of the mask.
Yeah. Strong words and self-confident in the ring of the artwork.
I found really interesting on the conversation we had with Arturo, that actually wrote the texts of the exhibit, how you were talking about the representation of portraits and how we had another different concept of the Zapatista movement and the lucha libre, and I really like your piece also because it represents all the layers and the different masks that we sometimes use, and then they are identities that we create. And I find it really interesting that after you arrived here, you went to the lucha libre, and yeah, I think it's incredible how everything matches somehow when you find the ways. Thank you.
We not also went to the lucha libre, but I did also a Mexican drawing at Chapultepec. So it's an ongoing work which has worldwide pieces.
Thank you.
We can just continue because there's like my work in the back, and then speak about Natalie, who isn't here today, but you know her because she's been here before and she's very important for the exchange. So this is briefly my work in the back. Actually, I'm mostly a painter. I deal with aspects of the representation of nature, culture, winds, tornadoes, volcanoes. The idea of the model is very important for me. The representation of things, like the confrontation between subject and object in a painting. And what I did here, I brought 2 paintings from 2022, so I didn't make them for this exhibition, I had them in the studio. They showed models of cactuses that I took from a computer game, so digital images that I transferred into painting with my typical color palette, so to say. And I put them, I wanted to make an installation in this very horizontal space. I saw the images that Miguel gave us, and I wanted to do a vertical movement in the horizontal space, to have a cloud which goes from the ground into the sky. I did a drawing especially for this space in the back, put it directly on the wall, and had the idea of putting the 2 paintings together as an installation on the drawing. And the idea was to create a special space for the 2 paintings, which leads us directly to the title of the exhibition, which is called Tales from a Third Space. Wise. The idea was to create a third space between the two project spaces in the middle, which is an ideal space, not defined in time and space, to create possibility to meet on eye level and to do something in between the spaces. And this was a bit my idea, to have a space for the paintings, which is part of the whole space, but also an extra space. Actually, the funny thing is what happened to me. When I was talking to people during the opening, they told me that one of the paintings, or maybe even both of them, really reminded them of the images of the birth myth of Mexico. You all know the story of the cactus in the lake with the snake and the eagle. And because I was dealing with these digital images, the background of the cactuses look a bit like a digital, very clean surface. Could be a lake, doesn't have to be. And that was very funny for me because I didn't paint the paintings for this show. But then I went to the the Anthropological Museum, and even I saw some images of it at the Bellas Artes, I think, which showed exactly this image of the cactus in the lake on an island. You can see that it's a bit like on an island, and I was totally like, it was amazing for me to see that. I didn't plan it, but this was just the feedback that I got here from the Mexican people, and it was, for me in that moment, it felt like, now I know why I painted them. It was a bit magic. It was a bit magic. Right. It was a magic. There's another aspect which is a bit more like post-colonial thing, that there's this like left out space, blank space, like on the footer of the painting, which refers a bit to the idea of taking possession of a plant, of a landscape, where you can write your name, or you discover a certain kind of like botanical species and you give it a name, and by giving it a name and giving it a category, it's yours. You possess it, you have like a structure, and it's yours. And this is pretty much what happened when the Hispanics, of course, came to Mexico. So I knew that there was also a bit this idea, but now it's left over, it's white, so everyone can write something inside in his mind or her mind.
It's a very pertinent selection of paintings to be here, right?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. So, and shall we talk about Natalie?
Yes,
and
please.
This is the work of Natalie Grenzhäuser. She's mostly working in the media of photography. She's always, or very often, collaborating with scientific institutions, and these works are part of a circle that are related to the White Sea in Russia. She's been to Russia quite often, been there actually also on scientific ships or boats in the Arctic together with scientists, and she had the possibility to take photos there and to discover these environments with an artistic perspective. And what you see here is like vice versa, like a switch perspective of a landscape that could be a sea, maybe a beach, but also the sky. You never know if the whole thing is turned, thank you very much, turned upside down or not, and it is confronted with a digital created or manipulated image of a space. And the whole thing also creates this idea of the third space, like a space you don't know which side is the ground. Can you stand on it? Is it plain or even level? Is it a safe ground? And yeah, she was the one who initiated the whole thing together with Categoria Brown.
Yes. And Natalie's work, she also did a series in the Arctic with melting icebergs, and what she has a history museum and as a zoo. So she creates now she's actually working with some spaces that are imaginary within the context of this anthropocenic melting of the pole's reality. So she's bringing in some kind of imaginario into this, which I found interesting, and this is recent in her work. And so some of the Arctic series, which you can see, the book is over here. You can take a look at information. And some of these environments, she actually really digitally replicates and spends like a long time perfecting this seemingly natural but also kind of jarring and uncomfortable reality. And so she uses this as a method, but it's very based in science or in investigation. vacation, or she puts a wetsuit and she goes in the White Sea. She goes actually in the water with a camera in this low temperature water. And when she was documenting where the Medusa comes from, she's documenting the two isotonic, or the two, como se dice, temperatures of a part of the ocean. So we're below freezing cold, and then above it you have another temperature that's a little bit warmer, and it's easy to navigate. And so she's photographing these different animals or species of I don't know, it's the shrimp-looking creatures, and she has a video and she brings it into the conversation about water and the care of water and the contamination. And she really opens up the conversation about what we're doing to the earth from her particular artistic perspective and now imaginary.
Okay.
Thank
So,
you. We have questions.
3 minutes. We're gonna wrap it up. And I think everyone's tired. We've been here since 9 a.m. So it's been a long day. And it's Friday. We're gonna go for maybe for a beer or two. There's another show upstairs. They want to visit later or come back. We're open from Monday to Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 11 to 2 p.m. And we're open every day or by appointment. And if one last question or Arturo, please. Okay, so thank you for coming, and I think we all need a applause for him. Thank you very much. So, importance of artists' spaces to survive and to keep on working collaborations between countries. One of the main goals for Palmar, and I think we're achieving a lot of work. We've been working super hard. And you can support us either by the words or any other donations are thankful for this space in front of and it's important for everyone to support our different spaces. It's very hard to get a space in Mexico, and we get a lot of press. We thank all that meeting, we thank Artist Container, our sponsors for the beers, travel, not today, but maybe later. And feel free to come back, talk with us personally in the other location. So,
Gracias.
Gracias, Laura.
Gracias.
Gracias. So, gracias.
Yay!